He is an officer under the Indian Forest Service. He is now the Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forest for Vigilance and Forest Intelligence in the Government of Kerala Forest Department. Well, it's known as Forests and Wildlife Department. He holds a degree in Forestry from the Kerala Agricultural University. Before assuming his current role, Dr. Krishnan served as an Eco Development Officer and Deputy Director of Periyar Tiger Reserve. And under his leadership in Periyar Tiger Reserve, there are a lot of developments, and this has facilitated fundraising, conservation through local tourism, and led to the establishment of the Periyar Foundation, serving as the model for the formation of tiger conservation foundations across India in all projects. Following his tenure in Periyar Tiger Reserve, Dr. Krishnan held positions such as Assistant Inspector General of Forest at the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India. He later joined as a policy analyst at UNDP, where he contributed to published strategies for mainstreaming biodiversity conservation in the region. So he has a vast experience in Kerala, across India, and also the globally. And he is here to share his experience on forest conservation and related issues with water. So over to you, Dr. Pramod. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, in fact, I'm not a technical specialist on hydrology, and I am also sandwiched between two specialists. I'm only a person working at the policy level or at on the action level on ground. Interestingly, I was just looking at the topic like water scarcity and human-wildlife conflict. So these days, this has become a fashion that this human-wildlife conflict has become a constant factor, and there are variables you keep on changing. So like last 2 months, I've had the opportunity of attending various sessions like this, and topics are like this. 6 months. Once it was floods, forest, floods, and little bit of, what you call this, a lot of snakes used to come out during those floods. So again, human-wildlife conflict. Then when the time comes of, during drought, it is drought and human-wildlife conflict, which is seen now. Then recently there was another session organized by a group of doctors, psychiatrists. So they said that the mental health and human-wildlife conflict. It says that people living in periphery of the forest, they are traumatized. So this has also become. Then the recent literary festival conducted by Madhubhumi, there was also a topic, literature and human-wildlife conflict. Oh, it is now becoming tourism. Tourism and human, that's another topic we discussed, I think, last week. So anyway, just sharing that, this has become an important issue. I don't have structured talk. I have a few disconnected observations based on my experiences from the field. Okay, now let us start from this with the very heading itself. It says that water scarcity and human-wildlife conflict. It's not a hypothesis. It implies that there is some correlation, some connection between water scarcity and the so-called human-wildlife conflict, which is being repeated increasingly in the media these days. Okay, so kind of an assumption. Okay, but many people have this assumption. We also had this particular assumption, and Forest Department noticed this way back in 2006. So in 2006, in Wayanad region, several years ago, say almost 20 years ago, people observed that the water is scarce in the forest, and as a result, the animals, they are not getting enough water. So we need to augment the water availability, and we have taken a policy decision, which was implemented also ruthlessly, in the sense that every 2.5 square kilometer area of forests of Wayanad region will have at least one water body, either natural or artificial, and it was created also. So the things would have gone very rosy, okay. But by around 2015, we observed another phenomenon. Actually, our expectation was that there is enough water in the forest, so as a result, these animals, particularly elephants, they will remain inside. But it happened the other way around. Now, the reason was that See, you know, Wayanad is part of a larger landscape involving Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. And it is what you call, it's a single compact landscape, what you call it. It has Vendipur Tiger Reserve, then Pudumalai and Nagarhole and Wayanad. So it is, we can call it, say, kind of, say, Brahmagiri or whatever we call it. And this landscape, in fact, starts from Mysore. Then it ends in Periyar. So naturally, there is a, what you call, there is a gradient, what you call, moisture. The Mysore part is relatively drier, and even otherwise also our Wayanad region is wetter compared to that part. So there used to be a natural migration of elephants towards Kerala side during summer season. This is historical. Now on top of that, you have created more number of water bodies. What will happen? That attracted more elephants. Okay. So this was actually one observation. So we declared a moratorium on constructing any more what you call water holes in that region thereafter. Okay. But now, even now, today also now, I mean, these days, whenever there is a discourse on human-wildlife conflict, many a times you will come across this issue, like there is no water inside the forest. That is why animals are coming out. Now, this is where actually I request all of you, because I am seeing a lot of, existing serving scientists as well as budding scientists. So this is where actually people should actually now step in, coming out of your cocoons, step in. We don't have any data on this. How do you say? How do you substantiate actually all these interactions? Okay, water scarcity, is it really the water scarcity that drives the animal out? Now, when we actually, even this, nowadays you know that human-wildlife conflict is declared as a state-specific disaster. So, all throughout the state, we have done an exercise of rechecking the water bodies. Very interestingly, more than 90% of the water bodies of the inside the forest, they're still actually having some sort of water available. Maybe we do not know actually in the coming months what is going to happen, but it is there. So, what is that factor? Okay. Then this is one aspect. See, another observation is, I'm just telling you a few snippets. Like, there are two, if you look at the mortality data of wild animals in Wayanad, again, you can see actually two peaks. Large number of deaths, mortality is reported during June, and as well as June, July, as well as another peak is during January, February. So January, February deaths are largely attributed to infighting, the mating related, breeding related infighting among the animals. But the other one is very tricky, because normally we tend to think that animals come during, April, the months of April months they used to come out, and they should come out, because those are the drier months. But unfortunately, we record a lot of maximum number of human-elephant conflicts. It occurs, crop breeding occurs in the month of June, July. Why is it so? So is the fact, water, is that critical factor? This is one issue. Now in the wildlife parlance, we also say that there are two limiting factors for any population to survive. One is water, definitely water. The second is fodder. Now, keeping these two factors as a limiting factor, by providing this n number of water bodies inside the forest, let us assume that we have actually removed one limiting factor, water. So water is enough water. Let us assume that there is enough water inside the forest. But then what is the next limiting factor? Forage, food. Can we proportionately increase forage inside the forest? We can't. That is precisely. So I'm just telling you, probably the KFRI should look at, this sort of one set of intervention. And on the other hand, what is also happening, the quality of the forage is also coming down because of invasive species, weeds, etc. So there is a negative correlation coming there. But the data on this is absolutely zero. So whenever, so we don't have any mechanism, any sort of data existing as of now to arrive at an informed decision making. That is the sad part. So what happens is that, the sad part about human-wildlife conflict is that everybody has actually opinions. So many a times, even the more senior you become, and they will say that, okay, you put up a, say, be you would have heard about, you keep beehives, it will help solve the problem. And the more senior you become, then we can only listen. Okay, we will try that also. But we tried also in some place, then instead of, the problem was that Indian bees, they used to sleep at 6 p.m. And most of these elephants used to come after that. So along with the elephant problem, you got the bear problem also. Okay, so this is an issue. There are any number of solutions coming up. But why that is happening? Because we don't have this evidence-based, research-based information on this particular issue. So my first particular thing is that, see, when you talk about water scarcity is a driving force. It's a triggering factor behind human-wildlife conflict. It could, let us keep that as a hypothesis. Let us test it. You can take it as one of the research programs in the coming years. See, another important thing, I will again coming back to hydrology. See, I'm just reproducing, we have discussed it several times actually to some of my colleagues, but again, I'm telling you, one important question. This question was asked to us way back in 2018. In one of the highest meetings, when CM chaired the meeting, CM said that you, Forest Department, you control about 1/3 of the total land area of the state. Okay, so you are a very, very important agency. Okay, but how? 2018 we witnessed that massive floods. So we are reconstructing the state. In what way you can contribute to that? So we said actually, again the problem is lack of data. How do you actually quantify hydrology? We can say your rivers are rejuvenated by these are all layman, okay, which we can talk also, but they require what? Little bit of evidence, okay. But notwithstanding that, then we somehow put together some data which goes like this. It is not supported by rigorous, robust scientific framework. But in the absence of that, we had to put together that kind of information to articulate a case. I will tell you how we argue. We said that there are 4 factors affecting the macro level water security of Kerala. Factor number 1 is our built-up area. In Kerala, there are 336 houses per 100 people. That means the total number of houses constructed in the state is 1 crore 20 lakh. And you put an average plinth area of 1000 square feet. The total plinth area covered by the houses in Kerala comes to 1250 square kilometers. And the total geographical area of the state is only 38,863 square kilometers. Now, you also lay tiles and do concreting around your houses. So this was calculated to be, now this is accepted by planning board. That comes to be about 2,500 square kilometers. So these are water impermeable surfaces, no percolation, no infiltration. Now Kerala has 3 lakh kilometers of roads, either tarred or concrete. Again you put to 5 kilometer width, that comes to 1,250. Then again our own offices, other buildings, etc. So putting together, as of now, we have made 1/6 of the state water impermeable surfaces. So this is only going to go up. So you minus 11,500 square kilometers of forest. That means 24,000 odd square kilometer area. That is a human-dominated areas of the regions of the state. Out of that, 6,000. That means 1/4 of the human-inhabited areas of the state is now water impermeable. Then you complain about what you call your declining aquifer. So this is one factor affecting the macro level water security. The second factor, we said that, see, Kerala has about 89 reservoirs. We call, not very large, but we call dams. You can't compare that with the Hirakud or Bakran, but even then. So the premise was that actually during surplus rainfall, they will store water and then release it. Then somebody presented a data in some of the meetings, the amount of siltation in our reservoirs is 7% to 60%. The least amount of siltation is in the oldest dam, Roorkee dam, only 7%, because the catchment is intact. No intervention, absolutely no intervention. The highest level of siltation is in Alvikara dam. That is 60%, because its catchment is completely messed up by Forest Department itself, like our own eucalyptus plantations on the catchment, and also cultivated by people also. But this is an academic discussion only, it's not a blame. It's only we are pointing out something. As a result, what happens is that if there is a drizzle in that catchment, there will be flooding into Trivandrum city with a lot of collateral damage. So this what you call sedimentation, increasing sedimentation in the reservoir is another factor. Second factor, macro level, influencing macro level water security. The third factor is again our declining our wetlands. Just paddy fields, the statistics are startling. So we just presented this. We said that these are the three factors, and there is a fourth factor which we said, which we represent, Forest Department. And forests perform two important functions. One is interception and infiltration. So what is this high intensity rainfall? I mean, previously number of rainy days used to be 130 or something, they said. Now it has come down to 80, and we are living in a world which is increasingly getting warmed up. That means more and more water will go. It has to fall down in a shorter period of time, and that is what is. And somebody interestingly from our group, he converted this into half kinetic energy. So average that half into mass into velocity square, and that worked out to be the what you call breakthrough. When it was made into a slide, that captured the attention of the many people. I mean, it was amounted to be several nuclear bombs. This is actually falling in Kerala, and that is the reason for triggering landslides, etc. So to intercept this, you require multi-canopy forest or whatever green cover. So that was first argument. The second argument, second argument we said Kerala is only a narrow strip of land. There are say 44 rivers and 900 tributaries, and we have only two pronounced rainy season. Then, but our rivers have to become perennial. How does it happen? It has to infiltrate. We said, then they said, okay, this is a good thing. But at present, the capacity, the hydrological capacity of the forest to perform this function optimally, it is not there. We say that this ability may be around 30 to 40%. The forests are heavily disturbed. You have forest fire, invasive species, forest departments, all what you call degraded plantations, then our own linear intrusions, unscientific development, tourism, we said. So then suddenly CM asked this question, okay, how can you actually improve because the other three factors, peaking is very difficult. We don't think that actually in the Malayalis or on tomorrow morning we will all become ecologically conscious and say that okay, 50 lakh houses we will demolish. It is not going to happen. Sedimentation is anyway going to, at least for some time, it is going to only go up. Similarly, the wetlands, whatever names you say, startling figures like Vembanadu Lake, such study says that it has come down by 43%. And depth is from 8 meters down to now they say average depth is only 1.5 meters. So considering all these things, but there is a possibility of, we can manipulate, we can, influence, probably can increase the hydrological ability of the forest from this 30% maybe to 60, 70, 80 by addressing some of these crippling factors, by improving forest governance. So that was the context in which we said that we need a policy orientation. That ultimately that resulted in 2021 forest policy in which hydrology became the central point. But why I highlighted, and some of the hard decisions we had to take, we said that actually, now we are looking for data. It was supported under RKDP program, then we awarded, then fortunately in that meeting, because of when it was that the kinetic energy thing was so captivating that nobody asked any final questions. We've had somebody ask actually, how have you come up with this 30 or 40%? Frankly, we were banking on one study in Silent Valley. In the disturbed area, the hydrological performance is only 30%. Then now we have given one study to CWRDA. We said that different types of forests, what are their actually hydrological abilities? And how does it vary across governance types? You have different types of forests, you have protected area. Many times we say casually we say. And under various degrees of disturbance, how does it vary? And we don't have this data. So probably what I was trying to say is that these are important pieces of information. Probably in future we need to collect it. When you talk about forest hydrology, we have to address these issues as an academic research. So some of you, if you can pick up, that will greatly strengthen actually. See, these days you would have noticed that even hardcore conservationists, Forget about policy makers. We don't talk about tiger or elephant to public. You talk largely about water. Other issues you can talk. Human wildlife conflict also we can talk about that. But again, to talk about such topics, we need robust data. So that is what second this thing. Then another interesting thing, sir. When you again talk about human wildlife conflict, many people will give, again as I said, many options, many solutions. So somebody suggested that let us have trenches. Okay, we have done actually this trenching business in 2 places. One was in Wayanad and second was in Parambikudu. So Wayanad the problem, and these places, Wayanad is what? Basically it's a wild nard. These places are having these marshy grasslands and they are the water bodies and they are excellent habitats for wildlife. And very highly productive ecosystems. And unfortunately most of these wilds we have converted that into paddy fields several years ago. So whatever left is also now invaded by these invasive species. This is the problem. So these wilds, if you look at its structure, it has a layer of clay just beneath. And because of that clay layer only, there is enough water in that. Now, while doing these trenches around your settlements, etc., what has happened is that you have actually destroyed that clay layer and the entire water drained down. So we could see actually many such marshy areas all of a sudden which were abundant with water, copious water, and after digging a trench to prevent the elephant, what has happened? The water has dried out. So what I'm telling you is that it's a very tricky thing. The same thing we have observed in Wayanad also. Wayanad as well as Parambikudu also, especially some of the ponds, water bodies were dug inside these marshy grasslands for enabling for animals to drink water, but unfortunately it resulted in the opposite. That it's ended up in the drying up of those ecosystems. Okay, so these are actually some of the observations. So I would say that you have to approach this issue from a multidisciplinary framework. Okay, you can't just have a linear correlation. There will be n number of factors. You have to address human wildlife conflict. You have to construct mitigating or barriers. You have to, because that's a short-term measure. If there is an elephant attack in a particular settlement, you can't actually expect long-term solutions. That's very important, but you have to do short-term solutions also. Then how do you address your senna, your invasive species? There are social, ecological, cultural issues associated with forest hydrology, but what is missing, and what has to be there as in the center is our data. We need basics, simple basics. How much does this forest produce? We have done one such exercise in Agastya Malay. We have done an ecosystem services assessment, and not for PES perspective. I will come to as part of my last part. And it was estimated that 1 hectare of forest produces water worth 28 lakh rupees per year in that particular landscape. And that was also projected before the Honorable CM. That captivated. Because many times what happens when you talk about this assessment of ecosystem services, we come out with astronomical figures. Nobody will actually understand it. So we have to come out with sometimes very realistic figures which people can connect. So I have one suggestion to you, because since you also mentioned about ecosystem services, and though there are more than 30 ecosystem services listed, still water is the number one. That will always figure in the top of the list. But we have some experience in the sense that I would say that if at all somebody is going for this payment of ecosystem services, it has to be can be divided into 3. Maybe phase 1 is we can call just kind of a listing of ecosystem services, which we haven't done. Like you go to say Trichur Anamalais. What are the ecosystem services provided by the forests of Anamalais? I don't think we have a comprehensive list. Simple listing. We are not going to complicate it. And having done that, if we can step into stage 2, phase 2, that is assessment. You can't do all the 30, but at least the most prominent 5, maybe soil hydrological services, fertility, then pollination services. If we can do that, that is step number 2. Then comes the last part, the actual payment of ecosystem services, which is extremely complex, extremely political, especially the distributional aspect of it. Okay, I can suggest 1 or 2 examples. One is national level, the second is at the state level. The national level, in 2008, in the National Board for Wildlife meeting, this is exactly after, for the information of non-forestry personnel, experts. What has happened is that this project, there was earlier, the entire tiger conservation in the country is coordinated by, it was coordinated by a kind of a program called Project Tiger. But because of the crisis of disappearance of tigers in Sariska, in 2006, that particular program was later converted to the National Tiger Conservation Authority. It has a separate stature, institutional arrangement for that. So it was a sweeping reform that has resulted in it has given a lot of dividends for tiger conservation later. So we thought that we will do this for protected areas also. So there is an apex body chaired by the Prime Minister called National Board for Wildlife. So it takes all important decisions regarding wildlife conservation in the country. So agenda was prepared. I was also in the ministry. So we prepared agenda items, and 8 items. 7th agenda was to convert sixth agenda was to form a protected area management authority, just like this tiger conservation authority. We took a plea that almost all the 99% of the rivers in the country are originating from protected areas. You name any protected area in Kerala also. All the 44 are coming out of a sanctuary or a national park. So that was one strong ground. Then we also said that, we thought that we will put a small water cess. Same payment only. Your downstream villages or users will pay for upstream villages. So interestingly, the meeting. At that level, when PM chairs a meeting, it has to go through several pre-discussions. So all these agenda items actually went through. So we thought that it's just a formality in the last stage only. And when this agenda item came, the then Prime Minister, he said that, no, it can't happen. He said, what will happen if China asks for water cess from us for Brahmaputra waters? That was his first comment. The second comment, he said that I can't also think about an India when one panchayat is fighting with the other panchayat over water, and we already have 200,000 disintegrating factors affecting us. It was a statement from a political perspective. But unfortunately, what was our problem? We were not prepared. We were romanticist of that time. We had gone to that meeting without data, only romanticism in hand. We could not respond much. So this is actually the issue. Now, coming to Kerala, again the problem would be that, again I will link it with your, our human-wildlife conflict also. See, human-wildlife, how much time I have left, sir? Okay. See, now you look at, I will come to human-wildlife conflict. See, human-wildlife conflict, it has a political and social part. When you look at the terminology used, human vis-a-vis wildlife. So it is you are creating the other opponent. Now, in many places they say it's a farmer-wildlife conflict. So there is inherently, it gives an impression that, it implies that inherently human beings or wildlife is against farmers. So it has to be eliminated. Okay. So this is one aspect. Now, unfortunately, what also has happened is that this is the topic of another lecture. Like Forest Department has a problem in the sense that Forest Department was created by the colonial, the British, way back in 1865 for producing timber. Forest Department was created only for them, commercial purposes. Okay. Now, so as a result, what happens is that, and people were excluded also. Your reservation process in 1878, first amendment to the Imperial Forest Act, it was a decent way of telling to the native people that you please get out. We want to actually use this forest for timber, and you meet all your requirements from village forest or protected forest. So the disconnect with the forest departments, disconnect with people started from there. This is historical. And it's only getting manifested in a violent way these days, number one. So on top of that, the forest department in between started this process of what? Process of paying compensation to the crop damage, death, etc. And then maybe as part of populism, we have we have included more and more species into this bracket, including what you call wasp bite, bee bite, snake bite, etc. So many times you would have heard that there are more than 100 elephant deaths happening. Why the people die in Kerala due to human-wildlife conflict. If you carefully scan through the data, you will see that more than 80% are from snake bites, which is happening in cities. Okay, so the people get an impression that all these dangerous or demonized the creatures, they belong to forest department. Okay, so this is a problem. So it's kind of like creating that kind of a sociological issues there. So we have been telling that this actually the payment of this compensation should be given to the local panchayats. Because who said that only forest department should do conservation? Because when this debate comes, nobody talks about hydrology. Then at that time everybody forgets about the original rivers, your replenishing your water bodies, etc. Nobody will talk about that. So we are now saying that actually this panchayats, LSTDs, we have such a beautiful decentralized strong governance arrangement. We should take it up at that level now. And for that, sir, we are going to use, actually this is a very advanced stage. If it happens, that will be a major breakthrough in the sense that, see the problem, again I will come back and I will wind up. In the sense that, see, we have estimated the total plan fund of Kerala is 30,000 crore. Just 30,000 crore. After paying your salaries, everything, this is a fund available for development. Out of that, 24% is being devolved through panchayats. That means another 8,000 to 9,000 crore is gone. So the balance is about 21,000 crore. This 21,000 crore is distributed among various departments, PWD, irrigation, health, education, etc. And out of that, 180 crore comes to forest department. So an agency mandated with the, mandated with the management of 1/3 of the land area, but your allocation is 180 crore. So we calculated, we are able to actually earmark maybe about 15 to 20 crore for human-wildlife conflict every year, whereas your requirement is about at least 100 crore if you want to put in long-term and short-term measures. Unfortunately, it is not there. Now, howsoever hard you may try, this is not going to increase because there is no money. See, we are left, as a matter of fact, the state have to deal with only, content with only these 30,000 crore rupees. So then we approach panchayats. So can you support some of these particular mitigation structures, etc. Some of the panchayats came, but they said we are also on the same situation. Even our average kitty of a panchayat plan for this 1 to 2 crore rupee that we have to we give for repair of roads that brings votes. So we can't do that. Then we thought that there is under section 41(3) of the Biological Diversity Act. It says that anybody, it is not under the biodiversity board. It says that every panchayat is to have a biodiversity management committee (BMC). So it says that any person accessing the biological diversity for commercial use, he has to pay a small collection fee to the local panchayat. So we can actually, if we can actually use this particular provision, like Marayur sandal, if you look at it. Now the government is getting the money, let the government get it. But the panchayat can also put a 5% cess, collection cess, kind of a corporation tax. Even tourism. 15 lakh tourists go to Munnar every day. On an average, everybody spends 1,000 rupees per day. Can't we put 25 rupees cess and goes to the panchayat? That money can be used for this, including human wildlife conflict, mitigation. You can rejuvenate your rivers, your streams, water bodies, etc. So this is actually, sir, we are actually now trying to do. So what I am trying to say is that yes, there is conflict, but to manage this conflict, one, I'm just stopping by saying that one, we need strong data, so that we can articulate and push our case for that. maybe on a war footing, we should actually take it up. Okay. Otherwise, this debate will come. The problem with this subject is that human wildlife conflict is that if you start this debate on an argumentary mode, unfortunately 99% of the debates end up like that only. The problem will remain, there won't be any solution. And as I said, the next world war is between countries, but here it is now between humans and wildlife. And from an evolutionary perspective also, mind it, we can't permanently stop it. Because it is one species trying to dominate the other species. So maximum we can mitigate this, and for that we require coordinated action and to convince especially other departments. Now it has become a state disaster. Next Monday also we are going to have another meeting. But here the problem to present this complex topic with the multiple externalities acting on it in a very short span of time to a chief secretary or our person chief secretary understands. But I'm telling you, at that level it's difficult. Or if we have robust data, then probably one graph can actually do